So hello everybody.
Good morning.
To the educational panel with the theme, So You Want to Be an Artist today. We'll just introduce quickly who we are. So there's three institutions or schools presented today. We have Makiko, who is professor at the Toyama Institute of Glass. Tiga, do you want to say hi?
Hello, I'm Makiko Nakagami, Associate Professor at the Toyama Institute of Glass Art.
And then we have Antonio Matos from the University at Bild-Werk in Lisbon.
New University of Lisbon. Bild-Werk is the name of the research center, the Glass Research Center. I was involved on that for a long time. I will explain when I will start with the PowerPoint. Okay. I am a chemist, so I am not an artist.
Okay, great.
And in the end of my career, I was quite interested in glass. So I started with colleagues of fine arts or friends of fine arts to start the glass center. It was an interesting adventure. So we have a glass center now inside the campus of University, Science and Technology campus.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting focus on science and art. And we're going to hear more about this later when we give presentations about our schools. I'm here today a bit as a double. I have two hats. I'm the moderator, but I'm also in representation of the Summer Academy Frauenau. To the purpose of this panel, as I said, the title is So You Want to Be an Artist? And the question that we are asking, it might not be new, but for us it's interesting to see where we are at today. It's about discussing the role of educational institutions in preparing students for the professional world, which I think, or we think, is a world of flexibility and a changing market. So where everybody or where artists have to invent themselves. It's a craft world that is constantly shifting. So we first will give three presentations, and then in the second half, I will ask a few questions, and then we discuss questions to the subject. So I'm going to switch to my presentation. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the International Summer Academy Bild-Werk Frauenau in Germany is an independent school for the creative arts since 1988. We have a motto that's learn to think with your hands. I don't think you can see the full slides with us hovering on top. So the Summer Academy Bild-Werk Frauenau is offering courses in various glass techniques and also other media from June through September. It's a school for glass and visual arts, and we see it as an important bridge between the declining traditional glass industry and artists. And for me, it's a door to the glass world. It's located in the quite picturesque Bavarian forest in South Germany. The Bavarian forest is a region with a long tradition in glass making since the 15th century. And Bild-Werk, or we stress the importance of Bild-Werk in similar places, and for also projects like Glassworks, which I will introduce later, in regions that have a history in glass making. So with the changing industry of handmade glass, we find it more and more important to create places like that help connect individual artists with each other, but also to glass factories. And it's important to create a thriving network, internationally, but also regional. So places like Bild-Werk are also a very important platform for innovation and experimentation. Also, we see teaching at summer academies like Bild-Werk and independent art schools as a special form of education that offers very unique opportunities, which can be free from restraints at academies and state schools. And these are places where art and craft can take new turns. Just quickly where we are. Big place in a small world. So you can see we are in Central Europe, right in the middle, close to Czech Republic, and in a place where the glassmaking industry is a huge part of the identity of that place. The Summer Academy has two major buildings, two main buildings. One is Tom's Hall, which is named after Tom Büchner, who is also the founding director of the Cornell Museum of Glass. And he's been teaching painting for a long time in the school. And then we have the Gaswerk as a second building. This is just an old picture of the first furnace that was built, which sparkled the Summer Academy in 1988. And in the front, you see Erwin Eisch, artist who's very important for the studio glass movement, but also in the context of somebody coming out of industry and then helping glass to redefine itself as a craft, as an art form. And there's a small video, I hope that works, of Erwin Eisch.
Oh boy, it's wunderbar, dass ihr alle da seid. It's so wonderful you are here. I was in America several times, and I have met Tom Büchner in America, and I have seen Bild-Werk, the school in America, and then we had the buildings here, so we started our own summer school, Bild-Werk, Frauenau.
So Bild-Werk is, for many people, also for myself, a very important place for connections, to make connections, to exchange, and yeah, it's a very big inspiration. Just quickly, the studios, we have a hot shop where we invite international artists, a lampworking studio. There's Shane Farrow, a very important person also for Bild-Werk, Dick Paulson. Engraving is very important. Painting on glass. So it's always been important for Bild-Werk to, even though it comes from a glass background and it's pushing glass as a craft, it's always been an art academy with different disciplines. So we have painting, also free and classical painting. And that's the team and also the advisory panel that kind of surrounds Bild-Werk as a supportive network. And out of this team, I'm not sure if the cursor works. Yeah, there's Katharina Eisch-Angus and Heinz Fischer, Heidi Wolf, and also Mark Angus, who's hiding behind us, who out of this academy created the Glass Works startup training, which was launched in 2019. Let me see. So Glassworks, taken roots through training and networks. Glassworks is a EU-funded transnational corporation, and the project aims at counteracting the dramatic loss and economic decline in the European glass regions, and at creating border-crossing sustainable networks of artists, designers, craft makers, industry, and education. And Glassworks aims at rethinking the glass craft identity. It's a 6 months funded training program for 10 emerging glass makers, designers, who are on the search for professional practice. It basically aims to help emerging glass makers to find their very own direction and their own identity in a shifting glass world. The individual maker becomes more and more important in connection to a changing industry. There's a picture of the first round of scholarship students, 10 students from 4 countries. The project partners, so it's Bild-Werk who created the idea and is in charge for the project coordination, administration, and we also organize the practical training in the studios of Bild-Werk. And there's the University of Graz in Austria, who is mainly organizing the conferences and exhibitions, which of course now in the situation is came a bit to a halt. There was actually an exhibition plan to travel right now. And then there's the Royal Danish Academy of Fine Arts, who is organizing business classes on Bornholm for the students. And our Czech associated partner, I can't really pronounce this very well, but it's the Jan Evangelista Popini University, who is basically networking and a communication partner in Czech Republic. Our main goals are basically help filling the increasing gap of trained glass makers and designers in Europe by creating this new training opportunity. We are working on creating a cross-border mobility, cross-border networking and cooperations amongst mainly areas that have a long glass tradition. So we are working on developing new sustainable business strategies and cooperations with international clients. And the knowledge transfer is important for between glass producing regions, and also creating awareness of the values of the glass heritage in Europe. The activities, as I already mentioned earlier, there's the startup training. It's a practical training in the studios of Bild-Werk. And we are working on developing a digital compendium, public events and conferences. There has been a conference in 2019 here in Frauenau in the Glass Museum. The exhibition tour at the moment came to a halt, but Glassworks has organized an exhibition with the works that were developed during the first training program, but also like about the whole institution. We're establishing a cross-border networking platform, basically. Just a few impressions of the conference in 2019 here in Frauenau. There were, I think, 5 countries coming together, giving lectures and panel discussions about how we can find ways of strengthening the connections between the different glass areas. Some impressions of the startup training in the studios of Bild-Werk. The students are guided by 2 professional artists as tutors, and also technical staff, glass blowers and other expertise. And it's just a short impression of the trainees. Okay, you want to get in touch and need more information, I would like to hand over to Makiko.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, yes. Thank you for your presentation.
Okay.
Okay. So a great glass culture has formed in Toyama, Japan. After graduation, the majority of TIGA alumni work professionally in the glass field. There is a very beautiful nature in Toyama. In 1991, Toyama City started glass school, Toyama Institute of Glass Art. We call TIGA. This was the first public specialized institution in Japan. In 1994, Toyama Glass Studio was opened next to TIGA. We call TGS. At that time, after graduate from TIGA alumni start to make productions. Also, glass artists can rent the hot shop studio for very cheap price. And then in 2012, the second workshop was opened as a glass trial for the public. Also, TIGA students' apartment and artist house for guest artist was built in next of second studio. We call this area Glass Art Hills Toyama. Let's go back to the school. I teach hot work for the first year students in the Glass Certification Studies program we call Zokeika. I teach basic blowing skills and introduce the possibility of new creations in the hot shop. We have two programs, Zokeika and Kenkyuka. We have about 40 students, but lately we have less applicants. We need to consider seriously how we raise the number of applicants. Declining birth rates is one of the social issues facing Japan. In TIGA, we have 5 teachers, 3 Japanese teachers and 2 foreign teachers, and 5 teaching assistants. I teach hot work to the first year students, and Brian from Australia and America teaches second year students right now. Koichi teaches kiln work to the first and second year students. Yaroslav from the Czech Republic teaches cold work to the first and second year students. And Zokeika students take 1 selective subject in the first semester of each year. Lamp working, stained glass, metal work, jewelry course. The first year students take foundation course too. They study drawing and sculpting. Kenkyuka students will set up their own research themes and investigate their goals through their study plan. The first year students take a class of applied art by Jin Hongo. Jin Hongo is our head professor, and he is the best. And he teaches hot shop class for Kenkyuka. I invited Shohei Yokoyama for my class time. Our hot shop teachers, TAs, and students worked together for his project. That was a great time for everyone in the hot shop. I miss this atmosphere, especially right now. Let's watch 1-minute video. That was a great moment. I miss them. So we have a 1-week workshops 2 times a year since I started to teach from 2006. Claudia Borrera, Jack Wax, Mark Zappel, Rick and Sherry, Judith Schechter, Boyd and Lisa, Mitchell Gaudet, Matthew Sauce, Jeremy Lepist, Mel George, Michael Shanky, Ronnie Presso, Michael Rogers, Jens Gusek, David Walters, Sylvia Levinson, Helen Lee. Also, Adrian Evans, Martin Yanetsky, Salman Statham, Keke Krebs, Arena Macheika, Justin Ginsberg, Hiromi Takizawa, David Shunako, Kai Siemens, Nick Fruin, Zdenka Fshkova, Martin Blank. I love our workshops at TIGA, such a great energy around us. Also, our students have the opportunity for studying abroad, exchanging program, the Academy of Arts, Architecture and Design in Prague, Canberra School of Art, the Australian National University, and Gerrit Rietveld Academy, and summer workshops, scholarships, Urban Glass, Corning Museum Glass, Fuchak Glass School, Haystack Mountain School of Craft. And we have 2-hour special lectures 5 times to 8 times a year. We invite glass artists, contemporary artists, gallerist, shop owner, photographer. We hear their professional experiences and we learn a lot from them. And right now we are accepting applications for Artist in Residency program. Since 2010, we accept 1 artist and stay at a guest house near TIGA and TGS for 6 weeks. And the artist will have exhibition at the Toyama Glass Art Museum. We had Yasuko Miyazaki, Anna Mrazowski, Ethan Stone, Ben Wright, Pavlina Chambarova, Jeff Ben Rose, Matthew Sauce, Eva Novakova, Karin Sutherland, Becky Gassman last year. I hope this will happen this year too. Toyama Glass Art Museum was opened in 2015. Since then, our students having graduation exhibition at the Glass Museum. I will show the students' graduation exhibition works. Ochisa Kobayashi, Marina Yonetsu, Kazumi Ono, Izuru Yoshida, Eriko Kobayashi. She actually got the 2nd place of the GAS Students Exhibition this year. Yoshihiro Takebuchi, Kana Suzuki, Mari Tamura, Naoko Wataya, and Rina Matsuo. We invite 2 guests for review of glass exhibition, and plus 5 teachers giving reviews every year. And this is inside of the Toyama Glass Museum. Japanese famous architect Kengo Kuma designed. But unfortunately, the museum is closed temporarily for a while to prevent the spread of the coronavirus right now. And one of the current exhibition at the Toyama Glass Art Museum, artists Luna and Machiko and Chiemi and Makiko Inoya are alumni of TIGA. Many graduate students are alumni working at Toyama Glass Studio. We have next of TIGA at the Toyama Glass Studio. Right top is production studio, and right bottom is rental studio. And left bottom is outside of cafe and shops. This is the 2nd studio in TGS, trial of blowing glass for public, inside of shop and cafe. Last October, Lino Talia Pietra had a show at the Toyama Glass Art Museum. Then he did a demonstration at the TGS next of TIGA. The limited number audience came to watch his demo. That was a great opportunity for us to help and watching his demonstration. And I love my school. This was quite a long time ago's picture, and glass community is very good in Toyama. I feel that I can connect with people through glass in the whole world, and I feel very lucky to meet so many people through the glass. We have such a great group in TIGA, in Toyama. We call TIGA family. This is it, my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Makiko.
Okay, can you see?
Yes.
Okay. My presentation is completely different because one of the themes that our research unit is studying is science in glass art, and there are many people working there in our research unit. We are in university. We are connected with the Department of Conservation and Restoration. So we have different types of activities there. But I'm going to concentrate my talk just in the science in glass art, and also to talk a bit about the glass study movement in Portugal, how it started, and also the Master of Glass Art and Science at university, which is a master of 2 years. Let's see why this doesn't go down. Doesn't go down. The PowerPoint. Yes, it's funny.
Are you trying?
Yes, I'm trying. Okay. I'm trying. Okay. Okay. Talking about the glass movement in Portugal, I have to tell you that I am a nuclear chemist, a radiochemist. I made all my career in the nuclear Portuguese Research Institute. And in the end of my career, they invited me to go to the university to teach technical instrumentation for conservation and restoration. As we had a big collaboration with a few friends that were artists, I told them, yes, I will go. With the condition, you start a research center in the campus of the university. Before that, we had a very large meeting in 1999 with conference and exhibitions in collaboration with Marinha Grande, which was the city of glass. About 25 years ago, there were 23 small industries there, but there were no connection with artists. Nothing at all. Maybe one or two, but there was no glass study movement there at all. And this conference, I have a great influence from America because I visited America by professional reasons, and at the same time, I used to go to different places. And this conference had many people. From United States, even one of the leaders in the art, contemporary art was Michael Taylor, and one of the speakers was the director of the Bild-Werk Glass School. I have 10 minutes, so I have to go on. The Glass Art and Science Research Unit started formally in 2001, which is a partnership between the Faculty of Science and Technology, where we start, where we work, and the new University of Lisbon in Lisbon. We are on the other side of the river, but it's in the area, grand area of Lisbon. And the Master of Glass Art and Science didn't start earlier because there was a lot of bureaucracy. And this is a master, it's not a Master of Fine Arts, it's a master of 2 years. Now we have 11 years of experience on that field. It's important just to tell you that there was a meeting in Lisbon in 2001, which wrote a mission statement for the beginning of the glass movement. And in that meeting, there were 6 people, three artists and 2 scientists, David Pye and myself. I am not going to put here what was the mission statement described, but this was the start, and we were supported by the Science and Foundation of Science and Technology of the Ministry of Science and Technology. The teaching staff of the master, the first one, so in 2009, was with different people from our research unit, Robert Wiley, Richard Meitner, and all the other ones are Portuguese, and you probably don't know them. But for the master's program, we had the collaboration of a great number of international prominent experts and industrial specialists, named Michael Taylor, Carol Pantano, David Martlew. Carol Pantano is from Pennsylvania State University, is a scientist, but he knows to go class also. David Martlew, David Pye, that was in the ceramic school in near Corning Museum of Glass, and Michael Rogers, that you probably know, and have been in Japan many times. Paul Marioni, Robert Brill, who was a scientist of the Corning Museum of Glass, and so on. Bill and Rad, that you know from the CMOG, the Corning Museum of Glass. It's important to tell you that this was the beginning, because now, since 2 years ago, the master included also ceramics, as can be seen in the website. Our unit is called as glass and ceramics, but the master was at the beginning only concerned with glass. This was the first group of students that made the master in Portugal, and we have here 6 foreign students and 3 Portuguese, and you probably know the Richard Meitner and Paul Marioni from the United States, and on the left-hand side, Robert Weiler, who is the professor of the studio glass, is responsible for the studio glass. Starting in 2019, the Master of Glass and Ceramic Art. In 2009, we had also about the same program. So this is in the first year, there is Introduction to Chemistry, Introduction to Glass Technology, History of Glass, seminars, and the studio work. Studio work is occupy most of the time of the students, and exhibitions. In the second year, we have work in the studio, some seminars, and the final exhibition, and they have to present their work in different galleries. Sometimes are the students that try to find in Lisbon or near the university places for their exhibitions. Since 2009, we have students from many countries, and there is a list here that I presented. We have no students. We have 1 student from USA last year. We have no students from England. The campus of the university has 5,000 students, a campus of Faculty of Science and Technology. We have a small place where we work. And curiously, and this is interesting for the students, we are very near the seaside resort called Costa de Caparica. So in the end of the day, they can just go to the sea. And near the university is a metro that goes to the bridge, and this bridge just with a train goes directly to Lisbon on the weekends if they don't have a room in Lisbon. This is our VCAT building, which is a quite modest one. On the left-hand side is a place for the students, and the VCAT building, it's this one, which I can just very quickly describe. Here is the hot shop. Here is the table for the torch. Here we have kilns, and also a furnace that goes to 1,700 centigrades. Here is a chemical laboratory, and here is the cold shop, and here is the place for ceramic and glass, but mainly for conservation and restoration, because we have a big collaboration with them. We depend from the Department of Conservation and Restoration. Here there is the ceramics. In this area, sorry, it's in Portuguese. These are for molding, for the molds, and in the right-hand side we have 2 small laboratories. one for 3D printing, mill, chip checker, and also in room 2 equipment for determining the TG and the COE. So we can prepare a glass and have COE important that is important for several glasses that we are studying, several types of glasses. This was the first filling of the furnace in 2007, about 2007, where we use batch instead of using cullets, which, as you may imagine, is much more dangerous, and it was a big problem. But now we have a new furnace, and fortunately one industry in Marinha Grande gives us the glass cullets for free. These are also just photos of our studio, where we have a very, very big glory hall and a very small one on the right. On the left is the furnace, and in the torch place we have the chance of having Cesar Toffel from Murano, that you all probably know. In 2018 he was the responsible for the meeting of the gas in Murano, and he works with borosilicate glass, and he made also 3 pieces for us. We worked with glass, luminescent glass. This glass is completely transparent under UV these colors, and to develop borosilicate glass, which fuses at 1700 centigrades, 1700 centigrades. We worked in our research labs for about 2 years to get a glass with different properties, glasses with different properties and different colors, and this depends on the rare earth that we use. And in the torch, Robert Wiley made this piece that was presented in an exhibition in Venice in 2015. We had a chance of having Bill Goodenrad from More One working in our studio. And a new thing that I think is quite interesting, we can prepare any type of glass that we can imagine, and in small quantities, in a furnace that goes to a high temperature, and after somebody with a cane can take it to the hot shop and just do a small work with a glass that is not has not the composition of the normal glass. Here I just present a workshop of Carlo Pantano, which is a scientist that he knows to flow glass, but this was mainly a glass and science workshop for the students. And here it's one piece made by Paul Marioni from Seattle. He now moved to Mexico, and everybody knows the name of Paul Marioni. It's one of the most important artists in the United States. And Michael Taylor, that helped us with this. This photo was taken in the Faculty of Fine Arts in Lisbon. We are developing new glasses with different optical properties. Some of the works were shown in the exhibitions in Venice in 2015, in the International Festival of Glass in Stourbridge last year, and in the Venice last week in 2019. We have also several conferences, which I have no time to describe here, with glass art and conservation that have started in Lisbon, went to Spain, went to Germany, went to England, and now I think is returning to England again. The other development that we made, because I am a nuclear chemistry, was to do ruby glass using the normal compositions. So the glass samples were made with gold, but with very pure reagents. So on the left-hand side, you have gold. You heat to get the striking, you cannot get it. But if you irradiate the sample, you get defects, you get electrons, and you can see on the right-hand side that with gamma radiation, we could get ruby glass. The other thing that we invented was using silver mirrors and transforming that in yellow and orange coatings. And this yellow there was an artist, Belen Uriel, resident artist, who presented an exhibition with several pieces, much bigger than this one, in one of the most important galleries in Lisbon, from a big bank in Lisbon. And this is an experiment we made. We just tried to do also ruby glass, and we got this thing which is not very pretty at all. This is color reflected by small particles of gold, and it is the same thing that happens with the Lycurgus cup. So if you reflect the light, you get this color, but if light goes through, you get the ruby glass. And everybody knows the Lycurgus cup that is in the British Museum, which has the same effect. It's not brown; it's green, and this color and ruby glass when the light is transmitted. We worked with different rare to get different colors under UV. All these pieces are completely transparent and colorless, and we use several rare cerium, samarium, europium, terbium, dysprosium, and thulium, and you get the different colors. This photo, probably it's a bit exaggerated because there was too much light and it's very, very difficult to take photos. We got a professional photographer, but in any way, on the right-hand side, you can see a morino, which is the first time a morino is made with luminescent glass. These are also the same examples for the development of glass. And these canes that we use were made using the luminescent glass produced in Portugal under UV. And I took them, it was opaque glass and on the top transparent glass. These pieces were all transparent under UV. They gave this kind of color. And I went with all the materials to the Novotny studio in Novi Bor, and Andrei Novotny in Novi Bor, he made all these canes for us to continue to do some work. And here it's also a work by Cesar Toffolo with borosilicate glass that he presented in the Venice exhibition in 2015. This is a detail of the exhibition. And this is one thing we presented in last year in the Venice Glass Week. You see on the right-hand side the periodic table. That was International Year of the Periodic Table. These canes are completely transparent, but under UV, there are the layers of UV under, you get this effect. So we try to convince the artists that they can play with light. Well, you know, Art Light, certainly it's a magazine works on that, and we will try to probably publish something about these ideas. Now, I would like to do a provocative thing on the end, but before that, I should tell that we are working also in ceramics in the University of Lisbon, in the Faculty of Fine Arts, and we have about 40 people working, which are all permanent people. One are some scientists, some are artists, some designers, some conservators, some art historians and archaeologists. And the connection between these people is very fruitful because new ideas came on this due to this connection. So as the theme was mainly on science and art, I like to just to put 2 slides. I don't know if I have time to read or not, but if I can read it, I don't know if I am taking more time than I should. It is important to state that another challenging thing.
On to the question soon, but
right?
Yeah. Go.
No, the questions are sorry. Tell me.
It's important.
Yes. Can I read? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It is important to stress that another challenging thing in this program is interaction of scientists and artists. In itself, not an easy thing, as you may imagine. Arts and scientists can indeed have a lot of fun playing with glass. The second phrase says scientists usually are serious, well-behaved people who try to study nature in a very formal way. Obviously, the artists are also well-behaved people, but do the artists work in the same way? Almost all the results of their work are signed by one artist alone. The science published the results in groups. I think this is changing now, and probably in the future there will be more collaboration. Are objects, painting, monuments, houses, and so on, that the artists create the results of well-defined experiments, or are they perhaps in many cases simply attempting to create things which please themselves or the public in a more or less independent way? I am aware that this point expresses my perception as a scientist. This was published in 2007 in the Glass Worldwide magazine. This part of an article was this one, and this is the last slide that I'm showing. The artists to create objects choose the materials carefully, but some of them may not understand the physical characteristics of these materials. Others interact with scientists to understand the materials they use, discovering sometimes quite new materials, change their colors, mix effects, discuss the effects obtained. Last phrase, last minute, some artists may have also all the skills needed to have a thorough understanding of the materials they use to manipulate them in a directed fashion, obtaining precisely the effects they want, in addition to being able to time the materials they use. Using the full potential of those materials, they look at the world and try to create art objects which can represent the examples, for example, gravity, the wind, weight, relativity, history, light, temperature, biology, nuclear fusion, weapons, wars, peace, the behavior of people. And just to finish, I would like to tell you that I am not now more involved strongly with this research unit. I will be a collaborator this year. The new director that started in 2010 that substituted me as the director of this research unit is called Marcia Villarix. Is on the website, and she is a physicist. She made conservation and restoration, and now she is dealing with glass art and making the fusion of the artists and artists in a very good way. Her name is Marcia Villarix. Is in one of the first slides on the picture. Sorry if I took more time than I should.
Okay, thank you, Antonio. You want to switch? Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't think we will have time for all the questions. We did discuss questions a little bit via emails. So I think if that's okay for you, I'd like to go to question number 5, which I find most relevant in the discussion. How do you prepare students for real life? How do you help them find their very own path as a freelance designer or artist, or going into production in a world where the students have to invent themselves? Yeah, there is no clear picture of a glass profession. So do you have in your institution a subject, or somehow how do you prepare artists or young artists for the
the techniques of the artists are the same as described in the previous slides. So they work with glass, and but they collaborate with scientists, and they have new ideas. For example, an artist that wants to do something connecting with the industry has the possibility to go to the industry and also to do some work in one studio. And an artist that wants to do an exhibition is helped by either by the research unit or himself to find a gallery and to show her work, his work. I don't know if I am answering your question. I would like to be more precise. So this is the question. What is the question? The number of the question that you are doing is the.
It was number 5. So basically, it's also the subject of the panel is. So you want to be an artist. Like, how do we actually prepare people? Also, I would say.
Okay. Is, to prepare students for the real life. Yes. Well, this is perhaps the single most challenging question that we all must face, whether student, teacher, parent, or otherwise. Art, by its nature, often aspires to ways that do not align well with real life. After all, finding a help wanted sign that says artist. Artist indeed is about likely a spotting, spotting a unicorn. Our students are certainly trained in practical glass and ceramics fabrication. They are afforded opportunity to learn and understanding these materials from the elemental chemical level on final applications in art, design, and beyond. VCAR provides a chance for our students to work and to converse with professionals, choose practice, only visits the ivory towers of academia, offering first-hand positions on the art and design practice. In the end, perhaps the real preparation is the work undertaken with our students at the personal level, whether creating the space for the student to confront their most personal artistic voice or challenging them to become fully autonomous makers within an international context. Our attempts towards real life are often times more personal and holistic than sharing a contact list. Of course, we share contacts as well. And this is the answer to the question 5.
Okay, thank you. Makiko, do you know what the question is?
Yes.
Yeah.
In Toyama,
I think you have to make the answers a bit shorter to get it a bit rolling.
So in Toyama, we have Toyama Glass Studio next to the school. So some of alumni or some of students graduate, they start working at the next door in the Toyama Glass Studio.
Very regional, there's opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Toyama City want to push the glass tradition as glass town in Toyama. So many glass artists start to leave. So students can assist for the professional glass artist and also have opportunity to work for them. And some of the people gonna go to outside of Toyama, but they are still continue working as glass artists.
Okay, so they the students are exposed to different ways of how different directions they can go. Yeah, maybe it's more relevant in Europe where we have, you can go to production. Are you going into craft? Are you going into fine arts? And there's a lot of opportunities, but not really. So it's difficult sometimes to identify where you're going.
Most of the students are focusing craft than art. It is very difficult in Japan to selling the art. So, but the craft market is more not easy, but more
established.
Yes. Yeah. So people start to work for productions.
It's a good network. Okay. I think we answered this a bit in the presentations, but think about network. Your schools, are they? Do you think you are part of a strong network to offer students a professional experience before they leave the school?
You are asking me, okay? Yes, we have lots of collaborations with the different countries. And for example, in the first course, in the first group that I showed, some of them went to their countries and they created their own studios. If they are in Portugal, they have also many contacts. And I should go also talking about ceramics. We have a strong ceramic industry in Portugal, and so they can themselves collaborate with even with industry or even with studios on the ceramics, and they have their own jobs there. And some of them will be completely independent, and they are just artists, no more than that, and they have to be independent, which is quite normal. Okay, if you think that you are in a glass art and science unit, a research unit. Okay, and just going out a bit of my theme, this is important, and it's something that for us is difficult. Well, for everybody, I think it's difficult to have the students, and that's how we get an employment. If you have somebody working, for example, in philosophy, how they get an employment after? Well, in glass, it's easier because we have connections also with designers. We have one important designer in Lisbon that came from Venice. He was French, and he went to Venice. He worked with Venini. He's a designer from Venini for 20 years, and he's very interested in our work. Also, the main industry, which is an industry in Portugal called Atlantis or Vista Alegre, ceramics and glass. They are interested, and we are starting some collaboration with them now. And we think that that would be very useful for them to create new ideas about design. And this connection with scientists is also important. If you think that the yellow color and the white color are probably forbidden in a couple of years because they are using cadmium and arsenic. We are trying to do also some research. That is the part where the scientists have some rule. So we can help them, and with artists, designers, and with scientists, we think that it has been a very interesting experiment, and we hope. And until now, we have no problems with the students that leave. We have not many students. We cannot have more than 10 students because the workshop is not so big as you saw. The institute has many people working. There are many collaborations, but it's not easy, certainly to have them. Well, and I think I'm lost now. It's not easy to get a job for everybody. Some of them, they have themselves to think what they should do. But this collaboration with the industry, with different places, with different universities all over the world. We have one student, for example, Canadian, that went out and went to Canada, and now has his own studio and is working completely independent. We have also resident artists. We give place for resident artists to go to our research unit, and they have all the facilities, and obviously they have to pay their materials, but this is important for us to have the resident artists also in our institute.
Yeah, I think exposure is very important. I mean, I myself, I went through, I think 3 or 4 different schools for my training. And still, when I got out of university, I felt like I'm falling into the cold water. And that's why I'm stressing this point of how important it is at universities to discuss that problem. Also, I think for me as an artist personally, what I find difficult is, or what I wasn't necessarily prepared for, is how art basically becomes fully your life. So it's difficult to have family, you're constantly traveling, and all these things. It's also just psychologically a very difficult profession. I mean, I love it, don't get me wrong. It's very important, but I think there should be a little bit more preparation at universities, at least. I mean, I'm out of school for a while now, so maybe it has changed. So Makiko, do you wanna, do you discuss these things at school?
Yes, actually, we have a good like 30 years history of glass culture in Toyama. So we had a good connection with other glass studio and glass company. So I feel the job opportunity more than my student time. My student time, I didn't find a good job or some kind of continuing is very difficult. But it seems little more number of working at hot shop or is little increasing than my time.
So are students in Toyama going into, let's say, production a lot? Is that an option?
Production or
is it more designing for?
Not so much designing, more production studio or like we have a koge. It's a kind of a decorative craft, more a little bit higher than just craft. But we call koge is people have into it.
Okay, so yeah, I think what's interesting about these panels is that people come together from very different cultures, but we still, I think, since everything is becoming more and more global, despite the Corona situation at the moment, I think we are starting to face more and more similar problems, or problems that schools have to address that can become difficult for young artists. I'm not entirely sure how we're doing time-wise. One more question?
Yeah, actually, we talked about our future of school the other day, and we are thinking to towards more like 3D printer or combine with other university or other company. But I see that Antonio's studio has a 3D printing place. What are you using for that?
Okay, when I said a 3D printer, on that one was a 3D printer with a powder, not with glass. Okay, so we started doing excuse me. We were trying to do some 3D printing models, and it is possible to do a mold over it, and after to do a small piece in glass. But as you know, printing glass, 3D printing of glass is really very, very difficult. So usually the best way is we have several 3D printing equipments there. Remember, we are in a Faculty of Science and Technology. We have a fab lab there. And everybody that wants to print, for example, in plastic, they can do that and have to do the molds. And use that. One of the things that I should stress is that some of the students which finish the master, they want to continue to go further. So we have students now that are doing their PhD in the Faculty of Fine Arts. One of the best students, it's doing, two of the best are doing their PhD in Fine Arts, continuing to do glass and exhibitions, and maybe they have a future in university, not as independent artists. But this is, well, one possibility. In most of the cases, they just have they will have to find a job themselves in collaboration with industry or other type of institutions in Portugal. One of the things that I should stress, and it's important, it's that our campus, our university, scientific university, is very interested in the work that we are developing, the artists and scientists. And this is something which I'm quite surprised, since about more than 20 years, we tried to convince the Glass Art Society that it was important to do this type of work. And only now, and I'm quite happy, and thank you, Anne, for I think you have a very important influence on that, and thank you for inviting us to this panel, because the collaboration that we are doing, including scientists and artists, should be spread probably in other countries. And I think I talked the other day with Richard Might, and he's telling, yes, there is some work going on in several places, which are really also the future. It's not only craft, which is very, very important, and we have that, but it's furthermore build different things and have new ideas. It's something challenging.
Thank you.
I don't know if I was clear.
No. I think I would like to ask one more question at least. We'll see if you have something to discuss after that. Just looking at the situation right now, because the internet or the glass scene, the glass world, like most of the opportunities recently are very international. Yeah. So now we find ourselves in a situation where travel might be difficult for a while. And that made me think is because I have been traveling really excessively in the last 10 years. And just now being forced to stop, kind of to stand still, I wonder if it's worth thinking about also to push local opportunities more for artists, because in a way I felt that it's almost required to travel and to take all these international opportunities, residencies, teaching gigs, and so on, which is very exciting, of course, and very important, that international network. But we might find ourselves in the situation now where mobility becomes a bit difficult. And maybe we should focus a bit on local opportunities more.
Well, that's true. You are thinking that we have more difficulty now to travel to different countries?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, nobody knows how long this is going to happen. I find myself and a lot of my artist friends and institutions in a situation now where we're completely helpless, basically, because that international network kind of is based on travel.
Yes,
I mean, there's opportunities of what we do now, using the internet more to bring in artists and residents, and it's just a question.
No, that's true. No, that's true. That's very difficult. I understand that. But as we are in a certain way, and you certainly experience on that collaboration, with that collaboration, international collaboration we had, you have already accumulated a lot of knowledge too in your country to do things like international. Sometimes we connect through the best process is Skype, no? To talk with an artist and discuss how can we do this work? What is the best way? And I know that some of them, for example, Richard might sometimes send me an email or send to our collaborators an email. Well, what do you think about working this or doing this new project? And this can be made even if we don't travel, because now I think in the future probably people should not travel so much because we are polluting all the world.
Yeah, it's not only the virus. Of course, we have to think more of pollution. It's crazy. I mean, how much I flew in the last years, it just makes me uncomfortable. Even though I love to travel, of course, it's so important. But at the same time, I think we have to create a different awareness of the impact.
Now, there is one thing that is it's really bad because, for example, Glass Society meeting was a very interesting thing. We were very interested in going there. I have been there many years ago in Småland, so I was so interested. I booked everything. When they said they canceled that, I was quite unhappy about that. And I have been also working, my colleagues, with different places in England, in Germany, in America, in Venice. We have been in Venice several times. I think I've been in Venice more than 20 times, collaborating either with Murano, so more work and knowing what they are doing and trying to develop some new works, as I showed you the Cesar Toffolo made some work with us. But in Venice, there is a conference called Study Days on Venetian Glass, where we go almost every year. And they have also one of the most important contemporary exhibition places in the world, I think. You probably know Stanza del Vetro by Fondazione. I would like to go there to see the exhibition. You certainly know the exhibition, the influence of the glass, of the Venice glass in the glass studio movement. And it was supposed to be in March. Now it was postponed to September, 6th of September. And this is something that you learn a lot, and the students, when go there, they learn a lot about the new developments of art. And the other thing which was interesting also, one of our students was invited to go to the Venice last week and presented their work there. So this is really a bit difficult now if we cannot travel for 1 or 2 years, but I think maybe the vaccine comes earlier now. Everybody's working hard. I think
it might change. Maybe at some point we will be able to travel normal.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I almost wish that, yeah.
Yes, this is something
it's not as excessive, or maybe we can find a few other opportunities to.
But imagine even in Lisbon, we are confined at home, and we have rules, very strict rules. In the university, they are starting to open, I think, in the end of this month, the university again, because all the universities were closed. But this for example, for mathematics, for physics, and so on, it's easy. You can go to computer at home and you can work. But our artists can do that. So one of the solutions that our professors take were to deliver some materials to the places where the students are. In this case, they cannot blow glass, obviously, but as we have design and we have ceramics, they can do molds, they can work there at home for a couple of weeks. And this was a very difficult task to do, but I think it succeeded. Now they are going to start to go to the studio, maybe a couple of hours a day. I don't know how this is going to work. It's a new experience.
Well, I'm sure we will find ways to work. Makiko, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I still think that we should concern more like as an opportunity too. And limited situation makes us more creativity sometimes. Yeah. And we are more open to international, but like usually we invite foreign teacher for workshop, but we can consider about good Japanese artists to invite. Mm-hmm. Also, I was talking about 3D printing. Then there is a local at the next city has a good design factory or design laboratory. So we start to think to contacting to them or also connecting with Toyama University of Art to, we are hoping to try to communicate or collaborate with them right now.
Okay, so it's like a stronger connection to closer, to more local places.
Yeah, maybe. But we are still try to next, like June, early June, we start to go back to studio. The students, maybe we are planning right now.
Okay. So it's just a thought. I mean, I know how important the international network has become for the glass world. I just find it interesting in the situation to discuss opportunities. You know, we don't know how long we will be in this situation.
Yeah, that's true. The network is a very, very important thing, and the collaboration we have with different countries in Europe and in America, it has been really very, very fruitful. But I think that this will be solved, all these problems. Okay. we are not thinking in a negative way that this horrible virus that is giving so much trouble. But people, I think, are positive in any way. And I think this is one important thing. I think after this, the world would be better. The people have to think in another way. Don't you believe that?
I don't know. Do you have a question? I think that's for my part. Is there anything important you would like to address in that context? It's okay. No.
No. It was a surprise now, suddenly. So I have to think, yes. How you manage your students? Well, the same question you made to me. How do you manage the students after they finish all their training? What are they doing after? How they can get jobs, or that's one thing that is important.
Yep. Kiko, anything?
Oh yeah, our students are almost like 80% of our students are getting a job, or even as a part-time job, they continue relating with glass.
Mm-hmm.
So helping artists or going to
successful situation of training and actually really allowing people to enter professional territory. Great. Yeah, I think it's very different in different countries. I think one question I asked, is there interest, like a lot of interest in your schools? I can imagine yes, but the question comes because in Germany we are experiencing with a decline in interest of young people. It seems that the glass as a material, glass as a craft is not so popular at the moment. So institutions or schools actually really have to go out and recruit. But it doesn't seem to be the case in...
yeah, actually our school is a lack of applicants.
Okay.
Compared with
I was thinking
all the time. Now, seriously, we need to consider about how to increase the number of applicants right now.
So you're trying, to get more students.
That's one of the difficult things. We have been getting the students through all over the world, trying to our publications, for example, in different magazines, conferences where in the gas we have always been there, trying to do some marketing. Also in other type of conferences, which are not only glass, but the glass is also involved. And this is a way of getting students from outside. Usually we have more students from abroad than from Portugal, which is quite curious. But I also agree with you that the interest for doing glass is declining a bit. But there is one interesting thing that I understood in Denmark. They had about also the 23, 24 factories like we had in Portugal. Portugal, they finished. And in Denmark, this was about 5 or 6 years ago, I think, they just changed. Each factory turned just a small studio with a very, very, very good glass production. Glass art. Glass art and not production for selling. And this was quite an interesting thing to transform industries instead of just finishing. They just are smaller, start to being smaller, but with artists. In Finland, for example, near one of the museums, I saw one studio with 12 artists. They were all partners. They share the prices of the gas for the furnace, and they could they have a small shop also, and they could have lots of people visiting them and buying things, and they were completely independent. And this, I don't know if it's happening in other countries. This in Denmark, they told me, and you know the meeting every year.
This is what I mean. This is what we are aiming at with the Glassworks project. Exactly that. What is already happening in some places where the industry shifted to individual artists, and where there is a new connection and the creation of a new market. So that's also, of course, interesting for students graduating, how to become part of that.
But we have to convince the administration of this country that it is important, and all the countries, that it is important for development. Now the people that just get the money are only banks and financial things and so on. And the artists are a bit forgotten. They forget a bit the artists sometimes. They think the artists are amusing themselves sometimes. Many years ago, for example, people looked at a musician. Well, they are just doing things that are interesting for them. So the art is really, and the culture, it's something that we should invest a lot of it. And in the glass, everybody thinks glass are just goblets and things like that, useful. They don't think in art as they should. Okay? We have to teach our government people that they should have also looked at the things that glass artists are producing for them, to convince them to support more. We are lucky because we have our science foundation that supported us, but that's not been easy in any way.
So yeah, I mean, funding of these schools, of course, is another very important subject.
Yes, that's true.
Especially, I mean, universities, of course, have a different politics. Usually, they are funded by the government, I think, depending on the country, but mostly it's a government or state-funded situation. Whereas places like Bild-Werk, the Academy, like all these independent, but yet very important art schools are really struggling. So.
No, that's true. Okay.
And I think I would like to close the discussion. It was very lovely.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting us to go to this one. I hope now that the new, very strong and very energetic director of the research center, Marcia Villarigue, that you will see, she is really very, very good, and I hope that she can continue this work with Robert Weil and Richard Meitner, and they can stimulate all this kind of discussions, which I think are very important and should be made more times a year, not just once a year or twice, once in 2 years or something like that.
Yes, also, I mean, this 1 hour, now we are over 1 hour, is of course not enough. I think this is a good opportunity to put out questions for everybody to think about and hopefully get some ideas rolling. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Bye. Have a nice day. a nice
okay, take care. Stay healthy.